Hello, I'm Paul Peterson, your host for Aging Well in LA. We have an important topic today, elder abuse, physical, emotional, and financial abuse of our large and growing community of seniors. The Los Angeles Department of Aging has become increasingly aware of both the potential and the reality of financial abuse of area seniors, many of whom live alone and are at the mercy of their family members and/or caregivers. Now, there are many causes for the rise in financial and emotional abuse. The economic downturn that has affected so many of us, the increase in scam artists who prey on seniors, and the pressure of providing care itself that often creates feelings of entitlement and stress. A small businessman may feel justified in charging a senior exorbitant prices simply because he or she can get away with it, given the naivete of an elderly client. The good news is that this increasing awareness of the problem has engaged the interest of many professionals in law enforcement and social service providers. Please stay tuned and we'll take a look inside Adult Protective Services. Welcome to Aging Well in LA. I'd like you to meet David Cochin, who is the Human Services Administrator for the Adult Protective Services Department. David, welcome to the show.
Very nice to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for taking time. This is an important topic. We have so many older adults in our community that are being taken advantage of, if you will. Now, this process begins with a report, which I assume can be anonymous,
Correct.
That I suspect abuse of this particular person either in a long-term facility or in the home. Now, does the social worker then make, I don't know what to call it, a house call?
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Essentially what happens is we'll receive a call of alleged abuse. It is referred over to one of our field units throughout all of Los Angeles County. And so a social worker will be assigned to conduct a home call, and they'll work with the alleged victim. They'll interview anyone that might be involved, and they'll develop a service plan to resolve whatever issues of abuse or endangerment are taking place.
Now, when you say develop a plan, this is a service plan for this particular individual, and that can be either simple or very complex, right?
Correct, yeah, exactly. It may be just a matter of implementing a plan involving home-delivered meals or transportation, you know, like a Meals on Wheels type of thing. Or else it may involve having law enforcement involved. There may be an emergency shelter, you know, something along those lines.
Up to and including going to court to get a guardian appointed for
Correct.
a senior. Now, I know there are many cases where the senior may be oblivious to the abuse that's taking place. In that case, if there's mental confusion or not really being hooked up to reality, that I'm sure triggers even more extreme measures.
Right, exactly, especially if there's some sort of exploitation going on. There may be financial abuse going on. In such a case, we partner with the Department of Mental Health, and they have a unit that's called Genesis.
Genesis, yes.
Right, exactly. And what they do is they'll have one of their clinicians come, and they will do what's called a mini mental exam at the home.
Right, to evaluate the alleged victim.
Exactly,
I
exactly. And if necessary, the public guardian may need to be involved. There may be a conservatorship investigation that needs to be conducted for the alleged victim.
Right. We've seen numbers here during the course of this program that the senior population is going to double in about 20 years.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is not going to go away, this problem. It's getting larger.
No, exactly. You know, number one, the actual aging population is increasing at a much higher rate than it used to. You know, you're basically seeing the baby boomers becoming seniors.
Right.
And you're also seeing a lot more opportunities to take advantage of them going on. But then on the other hand, you're also seeing people reporting abuse more.
More frequently,
Right.
which is a good idea.
Right.
Now, because of privacy issues, we can't show you a specific person. However, to give you a feeling about this process, we have arranged a reenactment. And I think you'll find this really interesting to see what kind of forces can be brought to bear when you see or suspect elder abuse.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Ezra Solis. I'm a social worker from the County of Los Angeles, Adult Protective Services.
Oh. I need help. Oh, you look nice. It's awful to have to ask, but I need a ride to the police. Here's the number. You see, they took my grandson, my Carl.
You hurt your arm.
No, it doesn't hurt.
Well, do you remember Naomi, the Adult Protective Services social worker you spoke to at the hospital last night?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't want to think about that. The police were here, oh heavens. And they were so nice to me, but they took my Carl away. He would never push me down. He's good to me. He's good to me.
But he did. You told the social worker that Carl had been drinking last night.
Yes, it's only because he was drinking. Drinking changes people.
Yeah, it does.
You see, Carl gets nervous, and so he takes a drink sometimes just to calm himself, that's all. He'd never push me. He's good to me.
So it's only when Carl is drinking that he got upset and pushed you.
I need him. You don't know. It was awful before without him here. I was all alone. You see, but my son and daughter both died.
Oh, I am so sorry to hear that.
I can't think. I have to help Carl.
Well, let's see if we can help you first.
Oh, I'm so tired. Please, just drive me. I'm 87 and I don't see so well to drive that new car. Oh, Carl's going to be so angry.
It's my job to protect you. I'm really concerned about you.
Oh, you don't have to worry about me. I mean...
Well, is there anybody we can call that might be able to help? A relative, a neighbor maybe?
Oh, I like Louise down the street. She used to bring me chicken soup. But then Carl told me that she was after my money, so he moved in.
I see.
He's smart. I was lucky he wanted to move in.
Well, when did he move in?
Oh, I don't know. You ask him.
Oh, you don't remember?
Well, it's been years since that day I met him. He saw my yard needed work.
So Carl's not your grandson?
Well, he calls me Grandma.
So how much did you pay Carl for helping you out?
Oh, Carl takes care of all my money. You'll have to ask him. And he's worth every penny. I bought him that car.
Is that new Lexus I saw outside?
Yes. Carl told me his truck was too high for me, and my old car was so banged up. You see, I had a few accidents. And not my fault, if I could see better. I always was a good driver.
Well, you weren't injured, were you, Miss Allen?
No one was hurt, except that lady said she hurt her neck.
Did you and your husband ever develop a trust or create a trust?
I think so, but I don't know where it got to, though.
Do you recall the name of your attorney?
I have an idea. You take me to get Carl, and then he'll answer all your questions. Just help me to find the keys.
You know, Miss Allen, I'm not authorized to drive you.
Oh, no?
I have another question I need to ask you. Do you take any medications?
No. I used to, for my heart.
Do you remember the names of them? How about the name of your doctor?
Oh, I don't need a doctor anymore. I'm fit, as fit as can be. It's just that I forget things sometimes.
Maybe you should just rest. You've had a lot going on.
Yes. The police came. Did I tell you that?
Yes.
Poor Carl.
Well, Carl's fine.
You really think so?
Yeah. Please, just sit and rest. Would you mind if I checked your refrigerator so I can get you some food?
No, I don't mind.
Did you eat breakfast this morning?
Oh, I don't know. I'm too upset to eat. You just go ahead.
All I see here is beer and mayonnaise.
I don't drink beer.
Miss Allen, how do you feel about calling your neighbor from down the street?
Louise?
Mm-hmm. Do you have her number?
Oh, it's in that address book over there. Louise makes the best chicken soup.
Well, maybe she'll have some soup for you.
Oh. You call her. But we can't tell Carl.
I promise not to do that.
What's your name again?
Ezra, from Adult Protective Services.
Ezra. Ezra.
We are standing in front of the Santana House, which is the headquarters for the forensic team that digs deep into reports of abuse.
The reenactment that you just saw is a situation that potentially happens in Los Angeles neighborhoods on a daily basis. In response to these complex cases, the Forensic Center was started 6 years ago to bring together experts in the field of elder abuse to find solutions. The goals of the center are to protect victims, further investigate abusers, and seek justice and restitution when indicated. Please join us for our discussion on this case.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started with introductions. My name is Allison Young. I'm the project manager of the LA County Elder Abuse Forensic Center.
I'm Dr. Diana Homeyer. I'm a geriatrician at LA County USC Medical Center.
Hello, I'm Christine Rosensteel, an Adult Protective Services Administrator.
Hi, I'm Dr. Susan Bernatz, forensic neuropsychologist from Bernatz Experts.
Hi, good morning. I'm Susan Strick. I'm with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. I'm the elder abuse attorney assigned to that division.
Deborah Zimmerman, Bedzedic Legal Services.
Hi, I'm Kate Wilbur with the USC Evaluation Team.
Christina Nairn. I'm a psychiatric social worker with LA County Department of Mental Health.
Lisa Hernandez, LA County Sheriff's Department.
My name is Detective Lily Franklin from the Los Angeles Police Department. I work Commercial Crimes Division, Elder Persons Estate Unit.
Okay, let's jump into our first case, everyone. Ezra from Adult Protective Services will be presenting the case of Mrs. A.
Miss A is an 87-year-old lady who resides with a 42-year-old gentleman by the name of Carl. Apparently, Carl's been residing there for quite some period of time. He initially actually told the social worker at the hospital and admitted that she was pushed by Carl. When I got there the next day, she denied adamantly that she had been pushed at all, and actually was trying to cover up for Carl on the incident that had occurred the night previously. What I found out was that Carl is not her grandson. The way she met Carl was he had walked by her house, noticed that her yard was unkept, and offered to help her out with cleaning it, essentially. Since that time, he talked himself into living with Miss A, and essentially has been there for an unknown period of time at this point.
Ezra, can I just ask you to go back to the hospital and tell me, how did she get to the hospital? Who took her to the hospital, and what happened there?
So initially what happened was Carl got really inebriated, pushed Miss A, and Miss A was able to get to a phone, call 911. Police and fire responded when they found out that Carl was intoxicated. He had been very belligerent with them. They took him. They transported Miss A to the hospital, and then that's when the hospital social worker notified our Adult Protective Services social worker to come out and visit with her.
Did she have any injuries at the time?
They took x-rays of her left wrist, and they only found out that it was a sprain, nothing more.
Okay, and what did she say? Did she tell them what happened?
When the APS social worker Naomi came to visit with her, she was able to get her to speak to her and open up to her a little bit more, and Miss A did confirm that this was an incident where Carl had pushed her.
She did.
Mm-hmm. She has no relatives, to my knowledge, that are at least local. She does have a friend, Luis, who lives down the street from her, but she has not really maintained any contact with her because Carl had indicated to her that Luis was trying to take her money, which obviously isn't the case.
So can you tell me just a little bit more about how she was groomed and like her cognition and her affect?
Her place is kind of in disarray. A lot of bottles of alcohol lying around, dirty clothes and things of that nature, papers lying around. So she herself was unkept. It looks like she hadn't showered in a couple of days. I noticed that with regard to her memory, a lot of the questions I was asking her, she was not able to respond to me. It was only until her neighbor, Luis, from down the street was able to come and talk to me that I was able to get some more information from her.
I remember you told me that she owned another property.
She does. It's an undisclosed property that we found that is in Palm Springs. I don't know what the address is at this point in time.
How do you know she has property in Palm Springs?
I met Luis when she came over. She indicated to me that Miss A and her husband used to go to Palm Springs a lot and that they owned a condo there. In addition to that, when I asked Miss A if there had been a trust, she wasn't able to disclose to me that there was one, but once Luis came to the house, she actually was able to find the trust, and so I was able to get a copy, so I wanted to provide that to the teams for review. But along with the condo, apparently Miss A has some investments, and I have not been able to find out where the investments are located, if they're stocks, bonds, things of that nature.
Well, we should be able to find out from the person that drafted this trust, contact the lawyer, because when they do a trust, they usually take an inventory of all the properties.
Right.
Usually the properties are listed, but this is more of a pour-over, so we can do that if that person is around.
Ezra, can I just take you back to the home? So when you got there to visit Miss A, she was alone in the home?
She was, yes.
And then when Louise came over, were you able to ask her any questions about, has this ever happened before? Has Carl been aggressive toward Mrs. A before?
Well, Miss A asserted that this is only when Carl drinks, and apparently based off of the property, or at least in the inside of the house, Carl drinks a lot. I saw various forms of empty liquor bottles on the floor, and all I could find in the refrigerator was beer and mayonnaise. Based off of my conversation with Luis, these things have happened before, but Luis wasn't able to, report beforehand. She was kind of nervous because Carl had threatened her, and so she didn't want to mention anything to anybody in fear for her own safety.
Do you know what? Yeah, how did he threaten her?
You're just trying to steal Miss A's assets. Don't come around here, or I'll do something to you.
And is there any indication that Mrs. A drinks alcohol as well?
No, she doesn't even drink beer. She told me.
Do you know if she takes any medications?
I was able to find out who her doctor was, and based off of the doctor's previous notes, she takes metopropyl, benzapril, and Aricept.
So Aricept is a medication for dementia.
Mm-hmm.
The other two are blood pressure medications. So does she have a diagnosis of dementia? Did her doctor's office tell you that?
He wasn't really readily able to disclose that information, but I would assume that based off of my interaction with her and the medication, she has some mental lapses. So Carl has basically refused to take her to her medical appointments, even though she should be seeing a doctor on a regular basis.
Can we just focus back on her? Who's paying her monthly bills, managing her finances for her?
Well, the house is paid off. I did call property, and the house has been paid off for about 20 years now. So there's no issue with that. With regard to the property taxes, they're current at this point. I haven't really found anything out with regard to anything, her property income.
But you did find out that the property's in his name now,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah,
he
it's
had-
in his name. So
she
maybe
had
that's the
clicked
reason why
on
it's
it.
current.
And when was, so you looked at a grant deed, and the grant deed, when was that new grant deed made?
It was probably made like 2 years ago, I believe.
So in 2010?
Correct.
Did you speak with Mrs. A about transferring the property?
I did speak with her, but she wasn't able to recall anything. She just said, speak with Carl about it. And she kept on actually referring to have me speak with Carl about any questions I had asked of her.
So let me just summarize where we are right now,
Sure.
because in addition to physical abuse, which I think we're all concerned about, it sounds like there's some possible signs of neglect. If Carl is really a caregiver, she's appearing dirty, she's not being taken to her doctor, she's not getting her medications, and now there may be some signs of financial abuse as well.
Correct.
Okay, so we have several things going on.
But we have to date, the financial abuse may have started, not just currently, but we have to backdate it to 2010. So does he pay rent or anything to stay there?
No, nothing. As far as I could tell, he doesn't really contribute at all to the household.
Did she refer to him as her caretaker?
No, she did not. Yeah.
Is there anyone else there that would be caretaking? Does she have other people coming in at all, a housekeeper, anything like that?
No, it's just Carl and her, and she's very private.
When you were there, did you see bills or bank statements, anything like that piling up in an area that you could ascertain where her banking is being done?
Right, yeah, so what I did is, she had paperwork all over the table and on the floor and things of that nature, so I was able to find out she does have a banking or checking account at Bank of America and some other assets, like I indicated earlier. I wasn't able to get copies of those things or anything like that, but I did write the account numbers down, and I'll be able to provide those to LAPD if they're able to follow up on that.
Right, because one of our concerns is that he's in jail now, but when he comes out, he'll be back in her situation.
Right.
And if he has access to the accounts, because they might be in his name and her name, and we might want to put the banks on notice that there's some issues that we're concerned about.
Yeah, we'll contact the bank and put a fraud alert.
Okay.
And then if you give me the bank account numbers, we'll start writing search warrants to obtain her bank records and try to follow the money and see where the money's actually going, who's benefiting from it.
Okay.
Was Lewis able to tell you anything at all about how she was functioning before Carl came into the picture? Was she interacting with friends? Did anybody else come to the house who, since his
So what happened was basically her husband passed away about 7 years or so, and since that time she's kind of had a slow decline, and so from that point, after her husband had passed on, she's kind of been a recluse, so to speak.
And there's no other relatives listed on the trust?
Her son and her daughter passed away shortly after the husband died.
So she's not on any medication for depression, is she?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, none of the ones you listed earlier are depression medications.
Right.
Ezra, do you know if APS has ever received reports on Mrs. A in the past?
No, this is the first report we've received from her, and or on her, I should say.
What about 911 calls, prior 911 calls? Can we run that to see if there have been other calls from that location?
Yes, we can have that.
Okay.
So one of the questions I have is, we'll probably have to go out there and do an evaluation of her, but working with the detective, do we need to go back and get that grant deed to see if she had and was competent in 2010 to sign that grant deed?
Yes, we're going to have to go back
Okay.
2010 at least, when the grantee for Palms, or her home now. Yeah, we're going to have to go back to that date.
Okay.
Yes. Regarding the 2010 deed, another way to unwind that deed is to look at the relationship between her and Carl. Because if she was dependent on him for things, then even if you can't prove the capacity, you can still, in a civil court, undo the grant deed. Did you check to see if there were loans or anything taken out by Carl?
No, I have not been able to do that yet.
Well, I can help you do that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
One concern I have is Miss A lives alone, and so she's not able to take care of herself. So I was considering filing an Office of a Public Guardian referral.
I think that's an excellent idea. I think that Allison can expedite an application with the Office of the Public Guardian.
We'll add that to the recommendations, but I did just want to point out that could take a week or more. So if there's something that we can come up with.
Well, in the meantime, Louise is checking in on her several times a day. She's really close. And also you made a referral to the St. Barnabas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think St. Barnabas could go out quickly. They have a case management services, and they also have adult day health care. So they have a variety of things. They have a meals program that could help get meals into her home quickly.
Okay.
But I'm concerned that is Carl coming home from, is he coming home soon?
That's the biggest concern.
Yeah, I don't know. Detective Gonzalez wasn't able to provide me that information.
Do you know if an emergency protective order was issued at the time Carl was arrested?
No, it wasn't.
Well, I'll look into that and see if a protective order was issued. Maybe you didn't know or find out. But I'll look into that, and then I'll also notify the patrol the area where she lives and let the car that's responsible for her area give extra patrol and advise them that this needs to be done and they need to check up on her periodically.
Okay.
And we need to check to see if there was a criminal complaint filed either through the district attorney's office or my office. And I can follow up on that if you can give me Ms. Gonzalez's information. I'll give him a call. That would go to the DA. If it was referred to us, we'll then take it. If in fact the case is filed, we immediately ask for a protective order at that time, and it's not an emergency protective order, it's a protective order pending the criminal case. So if there was a battery or adult elder abuse, we will file those cases.
Okay.
I'll
Good.
check. So give me his number.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so just to wrap up, I'll let you guys know what our recommendations were, and you can let me know if I missed anything. So, Vet-Zetic, you're going to check on the loans and the property. LAPD will help with getting a fraud alert and the bank records, as well as looking into the emergency protective order. And then Susan Strick will check up on following on the potential filings with the DA's office and the city attorney.
Correct.
You'll be making the referral to the Office of the Public Guardian.
Okay.
And I think to help expedite matters, Dr. Bernatz was planning to go out and evaluate her, is that right?
Yes, but I'll need some additional items from you
Okay.
and from the detective. So what I'll need is a copy of the grant deed, a copy of the trust. I'll need a copy of medical records, if we could go back to 2009. And I'd like to get medical records of her recent hospitalization. And that would include imaging and anywhere she was seen when she was hospitalized.
Sure. Okay.
Also, if there were any photographs taken of her current injuries, the x-rays, and then any photographs taken in the home that law enforcement may have done would be really helpful too.
Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, Ezra, we really appreciate you coming in. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The evaluation team has been following the Forensic Center since it was launched in 2006. And to date, almost 900 cases have been seen. As this case illustrates, these cases are among the most complex. This case shows a number of different types of elder abuse, including neglect, potential financial abuse, physical abuse, an older adult who is isolated and who is self-neglecting as well and who needs care and support, but instead has been victimized by a perpetrator who appears to be taking her finances and really giving nothing in return. What we've done is we've looked at how the Forensic Center works, who's at the table, really what the model looks like so it can be replicated. And we've also looked at what the outcomes are, and these outcomes are striking. We found that the Forensic Center increases prosecution by tenfold, which is really remarkable because prosecution of elder abuse cases rarely happens. We've also looked at, does the Forensic Center increase safety, and found that there's a significant increase in the safety as an outcome of older adults whose cases are seen at the Forensic Center.
Thanks to the Los Angeles County Adult Protective Services for allowing us to see how the Forensic Center helps seniors who are being abused. As I mentioned before, the APS situation involving Mrs. A was fictional. It was not a real case. APS maintains confidentiality over all of their records. If you or someone you know is being abused, call the County Elder Abuse Hotline. That number is 877-477-3646. Thanks so much for watching Aging Well in LA.